Hello, welcome to my channel. So today I'm going to be sharing how I make these colorful vintage background dictionary pages. That's a mouthful right there, right? So this is one that I made a while back with some, I thought maybe some fall colors. And then here I used some pinks and then another one with just a mishmash of all the different colors. And then here's some that I made on cardstock and mixed media paper to make postcards out of. And so I thought I'd show you my technique on how I make these because I use them in a lot of my work. I love having these types of things on hand when I just want to add just a painted artistic kind of look to my background, and these are just awesome to grab and use. So let me go through what I have here, what we're going to be using. These are my gelatos, and these are some inexpensive ones from Michael's Recollections. And I don't know if they carry them anymore, to be honest with you. I bought these a long time ago, and this project was actually born out of wanting to use these up. I'm trying to use up as many supplies as I have on hand because it's all getting a little out of hand, the amount of stuff that I have, and these are starting to dry up. So this was actually a pretty good project for those. These are Faber-Castell, a better brand of gelato. But the reason why I'm really not a big fan of gelatos, or at least some of the ones that I bought, is they're very glittery. I'm not sure if they all are. They don't look glittery. I don't know. Let's see. Maybe this one. I thought that they looked glittery when they went on. Maybe these Faber-Castell ones aren't as bad, but these are definitely glittery. And if I have a little bit of time, I thought maybe I would try doing this technique with some watercolor. We'll see. They're all water soluble, so they will move around. The colors will kind of merge and move around. So you do have to be careful to sometimes dry in between colors so you don't make it look muddy. Some gesso, the cardstock dictionary pages, and tinted matte medium. That's to kind of bring the white down a little bit so that it isn't so bright and contrasty. It kind of blends all of that together. This is what I use to adhere the dictionary pages to the cardstock. It's wood glue, regular Elmer's type glue, PVA glue, and watered down a little bit so it's kind of smoother. And it's a less expensive option to matte medium, which can get a little bit pricey. As you can see, the first one I'm going to get started on is the one that I have on cardstock. And then I'll do one that doesn't go on cardstock. It's basically the same process, as you can well imagine. These are a lot more delicate because this dictionary that I'm using is from the early 20th century. Very, very old. So while this dries, I'm going to go ahead and decorate my plain piece of dictionary page. So you take the gelatos and you randomly scribble across your pages. So you want to take, and sorry about the shaking, but you want to take your finger and kind of run it across the gelato a little bit and spread it out so you don't have as much of those, of the lines, of the drawing lines or scribble lines. You want to rub them down into the page a little bit. And these little bits that you find, just rub those where they fall. It kind of gives it a little more character. Just rub in different directions and see if you can get it in there as much as you can. And blended. Next, I give it a squirt of water so that the gelato will, the colors will blend in a little bit, and just run your finger around on it and blend them in. Add more water if you need to, but try not to, see, they'll get a little muddy if you touch them a little bit too much into each other. Try to keep them within their little color areas. And then I'll just give it a little bit more water just to let them blend a little bit more. Sometimes I'll pick them up to see if I can get drips to go in different areas. And if you want to, you can grab the gelatos again on wet paper. Add a little bit more if you want to fill in some of those spots that could use a little more color. And then I'll dry. I came up with this idea because I didn't want to just toss these. You know, they still had a little life in them, and I really like to try to use my supplies as much as possible without giving up on them. And this is, I think, a perfect project for this. As I said before, this type right here is what I used for my postcards in my postcard swap. And it's really thick, so it's not something that I'm going to want to use necessarily in an art journal. But this is. And of course, it's very, very thin. But once you start putting layers on it, especially gesso and a little bit of matte medium, it really strengthens this delicate paper. So let's do that. So you want to just put just a quick layer of gesso. Now, because the gelatos are water soluble, a little bit of this color is going to come up into the gesso. So I try to work a little bit fast. I don't mind a little bit of the color coming up, but I try to keep that to a minimum. There, that ought to do it. Then I add a little bit of water. This part gets a bit tricky. I try to get the drips to go in several different directions. All right, let's see how this will work. I'm going to go ahead and dry it. So it's not completely dried, but it's pretty dry. So the next layer is tinted matte medium. So I have a recipe for this tinted matte medium. I use it a lot. If you're new to my channel, this is something that I rely on and have relied on for years with my art journaling. And the recipe for it, I'll link in the description. I made a video about that recently, about how I make it. So here, let me pick it up. So as you can see, it's pretty white, which, you know, that's okay, but it's not my, sometimes I'll leave a little bit of white, but I really prefer it to look a little bit more like this, where it's a little antiqued. See, let me put that on there so you can see the difference. I got it wet when I was squirting that squirt bottle. But yeah, see, I just prefer this antiqued look, so. And it strengthens the paper a little bit. It almost gives it almost a plastic coating over the top. So I'm going to go ahead and blow dry this. Blow drying or heat gun drying is an option. It isn't necessary. Okay, so full disclosure, I was going to do an art journaling page spread with this, but it kind of, I don't know, it just kind of went sideways. So I'm going to go ahead and save that for a different day and do the watercolor on this and see how that turns out. So I'll be honest with you, I've not tried it with watercolor yet, so this is going to be new for me too. So let's get started. So I don't have a lot of experience with watercolor. I just don't use it very often in my pages. I use mostly acrylic paint. So how this is going to come out, I can't guarantee. So if you're a watercolorer, you're going to kind of notice the fact that I'm kind of not knowing what I'm doing here. So this could be a big surprise for all of us.
Like a wild man, sleeping like a child.
So I'm going to try to put like an orange or a yellow in here, but I'm afraid it's going to merge and get muddy. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a quick dry.
So luminous and vibrant, I'm always in bloom for you. Always in bloom, always in bloom for you. So many times I've stranded, a castaway on unknown shore, although a stranger in this continent, I'm always...
Wow, I really like the way that turned out. I love those colors. So this might be my new go-to if this works out. So I'm going to do a layer of gesso. Try not to move it around too much. So I'm going to try to evenly distribute the gesso around the page, so I'm not moving the watercolor around too much. Like I said before, I'm not really that worried about the color coming up into the gesso too much, but I want to try to keep some of it, the integrity of some of it. So problem here is I'm going to be adding water, and I don't know what that's going to do to my watercolor. Then I'm probably going to be doing the water squirt on there like I did before. So hopefully there won't be too much running. A little is fine. Let's try that. Get out my towel. Last time I did this, I got gesso water all over my workspace and had to give it a good clean.
Always in bloom for you. An infatuating light. Although it hurts me to be with you, I'm always in bloom, always in bloom for you.
Another option is to use a tissue to get some of this up off of there, so I'm not making quite the mess with the water. So just a regular Kleenex tissue. Pick up some of that water. And gesso. It'll pick up some of the gesso, so. There. That ought to do it. I'm going to try that. I'm going to try drying that, because sometimes the gesso will dry light to where you can see the paint. Okay, so it's mostly dry. So I can put on a layer of tinted matte medium here to kind of, like I say, blend that gesso in a little bit. And it also seals the watercolor so that you can use it with other wet mediums and it won't spread onto your project. It's one thing about matte medium that I really, really like. So, all right, so I'm going to go ahead. That's done. I'm going to go ahead and give it a quick dry. So here's the one with the watercolors. And here's the one with the gelatos. I'm not seeing a big difference between the two of them as far as the look of them. It's just that the watercolor is a little more accessible as far as finding inexpensive watercolors at your local craft store or just using what you have on hand. And I'm really liking the way this came out. So in one of my next videos coming up, I'm going to try to use some of these in an art journaling page just so you can see how I use these. And I hope you like this video. I hope you'll try this technique out, and I will put a list of everything I used in this video in the description box. And until next time, have a great day.